Welcome into our Saints postgame show. The Saints fall 24-15 to the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta today. They relinquish the lead in the NFC South as both teams now have the same record at 5-6. The Falcons, however, are undefeated in the division at 3-0. Alongside former linebacker Scott Shanle, I'm Erin Summers. John DeShazier will join us from Mercedes-Benz Stadium shortly. Scott, what was the biggest thing that stood out to you in today's game?
Well, I think the biggest thing, obviously, the red zone is an issue, and it's been an issue all year, and I think that's the easy thing to point to, because if you just score a couple touchdowns, you're going to win this game. You can only hang in so long with field goals, but I think the bigger issue was, for me, and it's starting to crop up and emerge, and it's the run defense. Mm-hmm. It's the controlling the line of scrimmage, and that's been something that this defense has been really good over the past 3 or 4 years, going on a streak of not allowing 100-yard rushers, and Bijan Robinson almost had 100 yards. He may have ended close to 100 yards. The line of scrimmage is becoming an issue for me. And if you're going to win divisions and host playoff games, you have to at least control the line of scrimmage. There's tons of other issues, the red zone being number one, because nobody even be talking about the line of scrimmage had you scored a couple touchdowns in the red zone. But that's an issue. There's little things starting to pop up that are concerning.
The Atlanta Falcons had allowed 30 sacks going into this game. They did not allow one. The Saints had no sacks defensively in this one. John, Scott went with the run defense. What do you think was the biggest thing that stood out to you in this one?
Well, I mean, it'd be hard to say it's not the run defense. I mean, when you give up 228 yards on the ground, that pretty much speaks to itself. And the red zone, Scott mentioned that also. You're 0 for 4 in the red zone. You turn it over twice, and both of those turnovers turn into points for the opposition. One's a pick six, and the other leads to a 95-yard touchdown drive. So it's hard to win a game that way anywhere, whether it's Atlanta or New Orleans or the middle of I-10. You can't beat an opponent that way when you turn the ball over and when you can't stop the run. This is not just an issue that popped up today. We know the Saints have had issues stopping the run, and now it's become, really, really big time, because it's not just the mobile quarterback. Now it's the opposing running backs. You can't get off the field on third down, and all those things equate to a loss. I mean, yeah, you're 5-6, and you're still tied for first technically in the NFC South, but look, I don't think there can be any illusions about this team right now. They're struggling mightily. They can't get off the field on defense, and that was supposed to be the strong point, and they haven't been able to do that. And now you can't score in the red zone. Field goals, as Scott mentioned, are nice. But when you're in a game like this, you need to get to the end zone. You have a couple of opportunities to do it, and you don't do it on either. You turn it over inside the 10-yard line on both of those. So that's how you lose football games. Whether that's home, road, it doesn't matter. That's how you lose football games. That's how you lose momentum. And then, again, if you can't stop the run anywhere, you can't stop much of anything on defense, because now the defense has you where they want you. They have you on your heels. They're pushing you around a little bit, and you're guessing. You're playing the guessing game, and the Saints are guessing wrong. And unfortunately, it's been 2 straight losses where they've had this thing happen. I don't know what the situation is or what the solution is to stopping the run and to scoring in the red zone, but that's one of the things that they had some time to figure out. And unfortunately, Erin and Scott, they have not been able to figure it out.
Yeah, JD, it's definitely been something that has been discussed at length throughout this season. They have talked about the need to stop the run, the issues they've had with mobile quarterbacks, and Desmond Ridder isn't the most mobile. Yeah. However, he definitely extended some plays with running and scrambling a little bit. He ended up with 30 yards total, but overall the team had 228 yards on the ground. That number is just unheard of when it comes to the Saints defensively.
No, I agree, and I think as you watch a football game, most of the time you aren't really focusing on the line of scrimmage, but I think even in the first quarter through the fourth quarter, they were just getting way too much push. Saints defensive line being 1 or 2 yards pushed back, and that is controlling the line of scrimmage. If you're not playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a long day. Now, give the Saints, the one thing the Saints defense has done well all year long is taking the football away. Mm-hmm. Tyrann getting 2 interceptions. Those 2 takeaways kept you in the game at least, but that just tells you how many other problems you had. You had 2 takeaways and you still lost that way. It's hard to win games if you're not putting touchdowns up in the red zone and the other teams running the ball on you, especially when the game was on the line and they lined up and everybody knows, hey, we're going to run the ball. We're in 4-minute offense mode, and you still can't stop it. That's demoralizing to a defense.
Overall, the Saints had 444 total yards of offense. They get into the red zone 5 times, and they do not have a touchdown to show for it. How hard is that for a team to look back on and swallow after a game like this?
It's really hard because in the NFL, when you have the parity is as good as it's ever been in the NFL, and there's going to be parity when you have world-class athletes on every team, and everybody watches the same amount of film, and everybody gets paid to go out there and perform on Sundays. You go back, and every game you pick 5 or 6 plays, and you say, if this wouldn't have happened, if we would have done this, we could have won this game. And there's no different today. Taysom, phenomenal football player. He gets down the red zone. Of course, it happens in the red zone. He fumbles the ball, and there's more points taken off the board. And when you're getting into close games, all those points matter. So I think it's one of those things where I don't know if there's like a mental block. It almost seems like when the offense gets into the red zone, it's like, oh my gosh, we have to score because everybody says we're horrible in the red zone. And there's almost like a panic that sets in and a look on people's eyes like, oh, it happened again. And once you get that part of your brain working, like, oh, we're in the red zone and we haven't been good down here, it really prevents you from doing things. You just need to play freely, and once you get that success down there, it's easier. But right now it looks like there's almost a mental block with everybody.
It's interesting because I was talking to cornerback Alontae Taylor about that and how the defense was starting so slow. And it was like, is this more of a mental thing where you're thinking about things too much and so you're reacting a little bit slower to start the game instead of, as you mentioned, just going out there and playing free? Do you think that is something that's playing into things on both sides right now? Because defensively against the run, and then when they get into the red zone, obviously the field's compressed. There's less plays that you can use at that point. So it is a higher pressure situation.
No doubt about it, especially when you're 5-5, now you're 5-6. It is much easier to go out there and play confident and play through mistakes and play through things that don't go your way. But when you're 5-5 going into this game, and things don't happen the way you want it to early on in the game, now your confidence gets rattled even more. And I think that's the biggest thing. With this team right now, they inside this locker room, they know they're a better football team than the record.
Yeah.
But your record is, you are what your record says you are. So this team just needs to get that confidence back and that swagger, and it's been missing. And I think that's the biggest thing to this team. But you can't go out there with a fake confidence, a fake swagger. If you're not winning, it's hard to go out there and celebrate and do those things. But I would just like to see this team play with that confidence and swagger longer than they have been. Just because something bad happens in the first 5 minutes of the game, this shouldn't throw you off the whole game. You need to keep playing that way.
Yeah. They were able to drive the ball well, obviously. They put up a ton of yards. The rushing game looked like it got going a little bit, 148 yards on the ground. Alvin Kamara was being used a lot. Taysom Hill. Jamal Williams got some good carries in this one as well. That was something that they talked about wanting to do. It was really establish the run game, diversify their offense a little bit, which I think that they did in their play calling today. Yeah,
I would definitely agree. I think early on in the game, to your point, watching them, the Saints said, we're going to try to run the football. And there's a lot of familiarity between the Saints and the Falcons. A lot of people don't talk about. Ryan Nielsen is the defense coordinator who has spent years in the building. Terry Fontenot is the general manager for the Falcons. These two teams know each other very well when it comes to schematics. And so there was a lot of gamesmanship going back and forth with the chess pieces, moving pieces. So I think there were a lot of plays that the Saints had Ryan Nielsen's defense off kilter because they know what to expect. But it was just things would go well, to your point, a lot of yards, but then a big mistake would happen. And they were timely.
Chris Olave had his best overall game because he put up 114 yards. However, it only came in the first half as he goes out with a concussion. As the game goes on, that's the most yards he's put up this season. He looked like he had a really good connection going with Derek Carr, which was something that we were wondering, knowing that Michael Thomas is not going to be playing in this game, who was going to be the receiver that would step up. It definitely was Chris Olave. They were trying to get Rashid Shaheed going, but then he also got injured as the game went on.
The name of the game today.
There were so many injuries, but let's just start with the wide receivers because the way Chris Olave started, it looked like he was going to have a breakout game.
No, it looked like the Chris that we all expected going into the season. Everybody around the league saying, this guy's a future superstar, and he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. And I still think that's in the cards for Chris. But when you take that type of pressure on yourself as being the new number one, and Michael Thomas is the number two receiver, and going into today's game, I really thought Atlanta would try to double team Chris up more and make you go somewhere else. And I thought Rashid would have a big day, but again, the injury bug popped up for him. But I thought Chris looked like the guy that everyone expected him to look going into the season. And I still think that is the Chris Olave that the Saints have.
Yeah.
The Chris we've seen the first part of the season, I think that's just a misnomer. I think that's just trying to find your way into an offense with a new quarterback. But I think it was a really good start. Unfortunately for him, leaving the game, hopefully he's okay and passed the concussion protocol and he's okay. But yeah, that's the Chris I think we all expected to see this year, and I think he expected himself to be.
Who was drawing the most attention defensively as far as our offensive threats?
I think Alvin Kamara. Honestly, this Falcons team, there's no doubt about it when you go into a game, especially like I said, Ryan Nielsen was in the building for years, Caden Ellis, those guys I'm sure sat and said, can we please not let 41 get going? Because Alvin's been a Falcons killer a little bit, and Taysom Hill as well. But I think when you look at it with his threat in the passing game against the linebackers playing a lot of man, they would try to take Alvin out of the game.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like Chris Olave had his spots, but he was making tough catches. He was definitely getting a lot of attention as well. Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson. So, I mean, we can start talking about some of these injuries that happened. I mean, there was one, so it was Rashid Shaheed early with a thigh. Alontae Taylor went out at one point. He came back in. But then on one drive in the third quarter, Chris Olave, Eric McCoy, Juwan Johnson, and Ryan Ramczyk all went out in the same drive. I mean, it was like musical chairs, how we get people in this blue tent.
I've never seen anything
tough.
like it. Like,
okay, well, we can break and let Dennis
guys.
Allen tell us what's going on, and we'll circle back.
I thought we had our opportunities. I think this game really boiled down to our ability down there in the red area. 2 penalties, 2 turnovers, 1 went for a pick six, and then obviously defensively our inability to stop the run. And that's really what the game boiled down to. That's what the game was all about. So I'll take your questions.
It seems like the red area's been an issue pretty consistently throughout the year. Is there a commonality that you guys have detected after 11 games?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think one of the things is, when you get down there and then all of a sudden you go from 1st and 10, a positive gain, and now it's 1st and 20, that puts you behind the sticks. It makes it more challenging. So I think that's one area that, has been a problem is the penalties, which it's 1st and 20. So I thought that was a big factor today, because on a couple of those plays that I thought we were going to be in pretty good field position and pretty good down and distance situation. So I think penalties are probably a big factor.
Yes, at this point, do you feel like it can be fixed? Do you feel like the red zone issues can be fixed?
Yeah, look, I thought the red zone was improving. It wasn't good enough today, and you have an interception and a fumble when you get down in there to the red area. That's a problem. And then when you get 2 penalties that put you in 1st and 20, that's a problem.
Dennis, why do you feel like it was so hard for the defense to stop the run today?
I think they won the line of scrimmage.
Do you think that is a matchup issue or a scheme issue?
Yeah, I think we just got to look at it. I mean, obviously, I felt like they did a good job of blocking us up front, and we'll look at what we can do schematically, maybe to be better there. But yeah, I think that was a big factor is them winning the line of scrimmage.
Why does that along the lines of Rod's question this late in the season? If it is a matchup issue, can that be fixed with the people you have, with like a month left?
Yeah, look,
So in the year?
yeah, we're gonna keep working until we get it fixed.
What happened on that? It looked like Derek was throwing a fade to AT, and AT didn't.
AT thought that he'd false started and thought that they had called a false start, and so he didn't run the route.
Yes, how do you assess Derek's play today?
Some good and some bad, obviously I got to go back and look at the interception to see exactly what happened on that. Look, I knew Bates was a really good player, and it's not the first time he's made a play like that. So I thought there were some plays that Derek made, and I think there were some plays that we'd like to have back.
Chris Olave had a big first half for you, then he gets hurt. What happened? What did you see out of him in the first half, and then what happens to your offense when you lose that?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's not just that. I mean, we ended up, losing Shaheed. He got hurt early in the game and tried to kind of battle through, wasn't himself. We ended up taking him out, and then obviously Olave, went out. He's in the concussion protocol, so when you're playing without your top 3 wide receivers, it presents some challenges. I thought Lynn Bowden stepped up and did some nice things, so that was encouraging to see. But yeah, I think, it makes it much more challenging. Again, I thought we moved the ball well. We just couldn't finish down there in the red area.
How disappointing is it that after doing a self-scout kind of during the bye week that a lot of the same issues occurred?
Well, specifically red zone issues. Yeah, well, yeah, penalties. That hurts. You know, not taking care of the ball, that hurts. Yeah, I mean those are challenging things, and yet, you know, again, I thought we moved the ball well. So we got to keep working on the red area and try to find ways that we can protect the ball better, and we can't have the penalties.
How do you assess it? Like when you guys
Two holding penalties, right?
How do you assess it when you guys are moving the ball and it looks like there's yards, but there aren't points? Like how do you weigh those two things? Like how are you optimistic about like the moving the ball but not score? Like how do you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that just really gets. I mean, if you're able to move the ball, you know, that's obviously a positive, right? And so you feel like, well, we should be able to move the ball down there in the red area. And again, I felt like we did move the ball down there in the red area. But again, when it's going to be 2nd and 3 and all of a sudden you're looking at 1st and 20, it's a totally different ball game. So that's kind of where I attributed it.
Dennis, when Ramczyk had to leave the game, like it was like a 3rd down play, was it like
Shoe.
an issue?
Yeah, shoe.
On that drive, there were 4 or 5 guys that went out. Just how tough was it? Just to
Yeah, look, it was. Yeah, that was challenging. Obviously, when every other play you got a guy going out, you know, and then obviously Ram goes out, and then Landon goes in, and you know, then we end up giving up the sack, you know. So I think that it was challenging to figure out the personnel there for a little while.
What's the message to the team now? 5 and 6, tough one today, like just kind of going forward.
Yeah, look, go back to work. You know, go back to work, and you know, let's work to be better next week. Obviously, we got some guys that got to get healed up, and we'll see where we're at injury-wise tomorrow. But we got a good opponent coming into our place next week, and we'll just have to get ready to go play.
On that 3rd and 6, the one that Jamal got hurt on, what goes in the decision to like Alvin's playing like well, and he comes out and then Jamal goes in?
Yeah, that was more of a situation where Alvin had played, you know, a few plays in a row and needed a little bit of a breather. That happens in the game sometimes, you know. So.
With Rashid's injury, was that something was that early in the game? Was it in warm-ups? When did that start?
It was early in the game. I don't know exactly, you know.
It was on a play.
I think it was on the first drive of the game.
Was that a hamstring for him or was it?
Quad.
Was that anything he was dealing with in the week leading up to the game?
No.
Earlier in the season, y'all talked a lot about the offense needing to get on the same page. Do you feel like Derek and the receivers are on the same page at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more instances where they are than they're not. You know, it was challenging there. You know, at the end of the game when you've got, you know, again, your starting 3 receivers are out of the game. So there were some plays there at the end of the game that were challenging. Guys having to play in different spots and do some different things. You know, but yeah, I think they're more on the same page than where we were. I think there's still some things that we have to, you know, improve on. So.
When you mentioned the Alvin being in for a couple plays and then needing a breather, is that something that y'all are managing, or is that something that the player comes to you and says, you know, that he's looking for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? You know, I mean, it's pretty common in our league. Happens a lot. You know, guy gets a few plays, needs a little bit of a breather. Hey, give me a play here, and then you take him out and you put the next guy in. That's why you have 53-man roster. You know, so. But yeah, look, obviously, you know, I felt like Alvin was playing exceptionally well in the game.
Do you feel like the team maybe took a step back coming out of the bye from what you would have wanted to see out of them overall?
No, it wasn't the outcome that we wanted. But I thought there were some good things that I saw. Again, you know, we can take all the good, and we didn't do a good enough job of stopping the run, and we turned the ball over 2 times down there in the red area, where we have a chance to get points, and that really, at the end of the day, is the difference in the game.
When you have Tyrann Mathieu come up with 2 interceptions interceptions, continuing to buy opportunities for the offense. Just how much does that mean? I know for not only for the defense, but for the team too.
Yeah, look, I mean, turnover takeaway ratio is a huge part of this game, and that was obviously the one takeaway right before the end of the half was big because it took points off the board for them, and then certainly the second takeaway gets our guys the ball back and an opportunity to drive down, potentially score some points. So I think taking the ball away is a big factor for us.
The final play before the third quarter, it looked like could have potentially just with the clock run out, was the idea they were on their heels, like why run the play?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to run a play. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, we felt like we had a play. We wanted to run a play. All right.
It may sound like some right now, but I know.
Now?
You just said it now. Coming with power. Erin, I think it was kind of a big reason they were able to get y'all on the ground today.
Man, I don't know, man. Obviously, we, played against this group last year, and I think for the most part they were able to kind of control the game. Then they got a great scheme. I think at times we just weren't, really doing our jobs. And they're one of those teams, man. Like, they're going to stick to the run. Like, they're not going to get deterred from that, unless you up 3, 4 scores. But we just did a horrible job, setting the edges, tackling. Just didn't execute how we wanted to.
First one in particular, prevented points there. What would you see that?
To be honest, man, I think both of them were, really just gimmies. You know what I mean? The first one looked like some miscommunication between the quarterback and, a few of the receivers. I was just in the right place at the right time. Ball hit me in my chest. The second one, I was just surprised that he even threw it. You know what I mean? So, but nevertheless, I appreciated it.
Tyron, where's the team at right now, like just mindset-wise? You guys just had to buy and drop this game.
Well, the truth is, we're not the team that we want to be. I think at times, we show great, promise and hope. Like there's good glimpse, but we just haven't, put it together yet. I think that's really, the most frustrating, part about it. And you try to get better at a lot of different things, throughout the season. But, I think, obviously 6 games left. We still have a place, atop the division. So that's just me being optimistic. But, we definitely have to do a better job of, just complimenting one another. I think our complimentary football is just, it's not really good right now.
Is it defense complimenting the offense, or even just defense
Yeah.
complimenting
I mean, we talked about it, over the bye week, and the first 5 weeks of the season, we played outstanding defensively. And then the second 5 weeks, it, seemed like the offense played outstanding, and, we didn't. And so, and it kind of felt like that today, too. Just not getting the stops when we needed to. Obviously, we had 2 turnovers, but, just really weren't able to capitalize on it. So we just got to do a better job of, playing team ball, and complimenting, each unit complimenting, one another. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Obviously today, still very obviously being in the red zone with just commonality and it's up to one today. What kind of wrong counts out?
Yeah, penalties and turnovers. We had the pick, we had a fumble, and then it seemed like every time we got down there, we had some kind of penalty. And it's hard to overcome those in a normal drive, let alone when you're down there, because now the field shrinks and it's harder to get those yards back. So, that's the fact. That's just what it is.
Did you get a chance to see what happened on the pick six on the tablet afterwards?
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, he was playing one single high, and he left his responsibility. You don't expect him to do that. You don't plan on that for that route. I thought Sheed made a good decision, but Bates a good player, and he made a great play. And very few times have I told someone good job on a bad play, but that was one where I told him, hey, you beat me. You made a great play, and it is what it is. It sucks to have that happen. But same thing, RC, on the sideline, he's like, bro, made a good play. Like, go, keep playing. You're playing great, keep going. And you still don't want that to happen, but they make plays too.
You put your finger on just like it seems like for the last couple of weeks, moving the ball is not a problem.
Yeah, red zone.
Just like,
yeah, red zone. I'm with you, and I feel the same frustration. Everybody probably feels. And I'm into problem solving, not creating problems. And so I'm trying to, figure out why. We'll look at this one real closely. Us players and coaches, we'll look at it closely. But, I understand the frustration. I understand, that we haven't met the expectation yet of what we can be and what we've shown to be at times. As a team, I'm saying. But one of those areas for us as an offense is the red zone where, we'll have good days, we'll have some good plays, and all of a sudden we have a day like today where, today I think the penalties really hurt, pushing us back, obviously, and the 2 turnovers, which is something I take a lot of pride in not doing, and I know Taysom, we count on him, all the time, and we're going to continue to count on him, and it happens, it's part of the game. It sucks that it all happened in one time, in one game, but it's fact, but I'm not going to be frustrated anymore. I'm going to be positive. I've seen when a team has battled and gone through a lot of things, and still made the playoffs. And what did it was us coming together. Everyone on the outside, wanted this and wanted that, and thought this and thought that. But I'm telling you, man, if we can come together and keep pushing, keep working, we played our best football the last 5 weeks of that year, and we made it to the playoffs. And that's what we have to do as a team, and that's what I share with the guys. But if you come in with the long face and no one on Twitter likes you right now and all that kind of stuff, then this is the wrong business, and this is going to be the wrong month and a half for you. This right here, we're going to find out what guys are made of with their work ethic and how they want to come to work, because we still have everything that we want to do, but we need. And we will correct certain things when we take a look at it tomorrow.
You had a strong connection with Chris there in the first half. Just how hard was it losing him and Shaheed in the same game?
I mean, it's tough, but at the end of the day, I always say nobody cares, We care about them. We care about their injuries. And I'm just so proud of the relationships that we've built and, the things that we're doing better on the field together. So when that went down, it's like, dang, something else happened, so it's a little frustrating, but at the end of the day, nobody cares, man. Our guys came in and I thought, the young guys and guys that maybe don't play as much, they came in and they did their best and made some plays for us. It wasn't perfect, but gave us a chance. They gave us a chance and competed their tail off. So I was proud of them for that. But I was really excited about the game plan and what we had for Chris today and Rashid. And it's a shame that they both went down early.
Dennis told us that on that third down play, the AT, he just thought he false started.
Yeah.
So on that specific type of play, it's basically catch and go, throw into his spot.
Yeah, I saw him kind of stutter, and so I thought he was doing his release. And the one-on-one is outside to him. They doubled inside. And so, I was working outside to him, and I didn't know what he said because they were over there, but apparently he thought he false started. And as soon as I let it go, I kind of looked to the sideline. I thought there was going to be a whistle or a flag, but I think he just thought he jumped.
After just getting the chance to self-scout last week and kind of identifying a lot of issues,
yeah.
Some of those same issues crop up again today, you think, or did you correct some things? Or
I thought we corrected some things, honestly. I thought third downs, we didn't hit them all, but I thought we were better. I thought we hit some big third downs. Even when we got behind the sticks, I thought we got some chunks back to help put us back in a chance or give us a chance to get a first down again in the red zone. I thought that we ran the ball, in certain areas under center really well, which helped some play action plays open up big time for us, especially in the first half. So I thought there were some things that we did better. But like every game, there's going to be things you can point at 3 or 4 things like, we didn't do that good, But for sure, I don't think moving the ball has been an issue for us. I think that we really have moved it well. Situational football is where we've failed, and I thought we were better on third down. I don't know the number. I felt like we hit more of them. I thought we protected well, but the red zone creeped up today for sure. I mean, that was as bad as it gets.
And then when you were talking about just kind of shutting out the outside talk, and just focusing on getting right inside,
yeah.
How do you get guys really buy into that? I guess it is hard to shut out the noise.
Well, I would say it's harder nowadays than it was 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Thank goodness I came from a time that stuff was just new and it didn't really matter, and the only thing you care about is, going home, making sure you're a good husband and a good dad, and now guys have come from high school and college and all that's the world that they come from. And, so it's a challenge, because, everyone cares about what somebody thinks, everybody cares, you get a tweet or you get this kind of stuff. And just as an older player, as a leader, you just try and encourage them, man, that the people in this room are the ones that matter. We love you, and I think that we have a good group of guys that is preaching that same thing and putting their arms around guys that they know they could have done this or could have done that, and you put your arm around them and be like, look, bro, none of that stuff matters. No one's going to love your Instagram post today, but we do, and we care about you, so give us your best, and you just try and preach that message, man, because times definitely have changed since I first got in the league. We weren't even talking about this stuff, but now it's a real thing that you deal with. But I think we have I think you agree, we got some great guys in that locker room and in certain spots that can help with that and try and be positive, because in our building we're going to be positive, man. We're going to be positive. We're going to work. We're going to challenge the heck out of each other, these last 6 or so weeks.
Derek, I apologize if this already been asked.
You're good.
Are you surprised about the inefficiency of the red zone coming out of the bye week?
Yeah, and I think we were running good plays, and then we'd get hurt with a penalty. We talked about the interception. Jesse's playing the single high, and he comes out of the post, leaves his responsibility, makes a great play. And you don't expect that. You take the snap, and he's there, so you think you have a chance, and all of a sudden he shows up. And that you don't expect that. I thought he was going to walk in, and he made a great play. And then Taysom's fumble, we count on him all the time. We don't expect that to happen, and we're going to keep counting on him. He's one of the best players in the NFL, and so we're going to keep counting on him. But I really thought we were running good plays, I just think the penalties, and I don't know exactly what those were, off the top of my head. I know the holdings and the stuff on the side and all that, but I didn't see them firsthand, and I'm not going to comment on them, ever. But it hurt us, and so I don't think it was oh gosh, what do we do? I thought we were running good plays and moving the ball like crazy today, but we definitely got hurt by those things in the end.
Do you feel like, talking to everybody, it feels like point where time's running out?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're just running out of games, you know. We are. That's a fact. But what we need to do, and, you know, what Who Dat Nation can do for us is just keep encouraging our guys, man. We're going to come home, we're going to go on the road, and when we come home, we're going to need them, and we're all in this thing together, man, and we are going to work like crazy to make it right. We really are. We're going to give it our best. It hasn't happened at the same time yet, but if and when it does, it's going to be a beautiful thing. And so I'm not going to stop working. I know our guys aren't going to stop working, but we need everybody. We need everybody. Trust me, we're very frustrated too. Especially I hate losing, and so coming here and why and all those kind of things. No one planned on it happening like this, but this is where we're at. And so I just challenged myself that I'm not going to get so frustrated that I just shut off or shut down and things like that. Man, I'm going to be super positive, and I'm going to encourage our guys until the bitter end. And I believe this in everything in me that we still have time left. Time may be run out, but we still have time left. And so I'm going to look at it that way. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Yep.
That was head coach Dennis Allen, safety Tyrann Mathieu, and quarterback Derek Carr after the 24-15 loss at Atlanta today. And I think they all reiterated that nobody expected to be here, especially after the bye week, to have the game go the way that it did. There were so many things that went well in terms of moving the ball. A lot of players getting involved. Defensively, Tyrann Mathieu has 2 interceptions. Blake Grupe comes out. He goes 5 of 6. He hit one from 59. I mean, he was doing very well. So there are a lot of positives, but it was some of the little things that we talked about earlier, all of the injuries that we were talking about before DA came on that started to pile up throughout the game. And they came in without 2 of their top players on both sides of the ball. And then you add a couple more injuries throughout the game. And then Derek Carr just touched on this, the issues in the red zone. And he mentioned there were penalties there. There was a holding, a false start, an OPI, so multiple penalties in the red zone. There's a drop, and then there was the pick and the fumble. So it's like it was kind of everything that could have happened in a game went wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, Taysom Hill has not fumbled since 2020. He doesn't do that. So it's tough when you start to pick it apart. Like, these are all little things that don't usually happen all in one game.
No, they don't. And the little things, they matter even more in professional football because we said the teams are so evenly matched. And I agree with Derek. I think, there's a lot of teams, and he talks to Who Dat Nation, and I agree with him. You're coming home for 3 straight home games. The schedule makers didn't do the Saints any favors. They've been on the road a lot, but you're going to have an NFC contender in the Lions. That's a big measuring stick game. And you have 2 very winnable games after that with the Giants and the Panthers. So Who Dat Nation, you're not the Giants. You're not the Patriots. You're not all these other teams that is just hope is gone. You have a chance to win a division still. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think Derek said it best. Support the guys. Be encouraging. Because I really do. Players always say, we don't listen to any of that. They listen to everything. And if you send some positive vibes their way on social media, because they all look at it, they all say they don't. But it can matter. Because, as a teammate, if someone's constantly telling you that one of your teammates isn't good, as soon as your teammate makes a bad play or a penalty or a stupid mistake, you're starting to thinking, maybe that fan was right. And it really does matter. I think, so to Derek's point, you have 3 straight home games. You have a chance to make a difference in this team's season. And you guys, as fans, really do matter. And show up, be loud, be proud, because NFC South is still right there. It may be a little bit more of a long shot because of today's tough loss, but you have a very realistic chance of winning a division and hosting a playoff game.
Sure, technically you are still tied for the lead in the NFC South. And hopefully they have a very easy schedule the rest of the way. Does start off a little tough with the Detroit Lions coming into town next. However, I think that they could really go on a roll if they can get up for that game and turn the momentum around a little bit, get a win over them, and that will get you feeling pretty good.
I agree with you 100%. It's almost like you need this game right now. You need somebody that everybody's going to be telling you that you can't beat. Everyone this week is going to tell you outside the building that the Lions are the new up-and-coming team in the NFC. You're the underdog. You can't beat this team. Maybe this is what this team needs to rally, to group together. The leaders, you have a leader at every level on defense, Cam, DeMario, Tyrann. You guys take care of your position groups. Offensively, the same thing. And sometimes these are the type of games you need at the right time.
Yeah, use it as fuel. I like that. Thank you so much, Scott, for putting a nice little bow on this for us and give us something to look forward to next week. Fortunately, a 24-15 loss this week. However, we'll be right back here with you again next week, back home in the Superdome. So we'll be excited to have all of the fans there with us. Thank you so much for joining us for the post-game show. For John DeShazier in Atlanta, Scott Shanle, I'm Erin Summers. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you again next week.